No.
Oh, am I starting?
Yeah,
Oh.
because you're going to start reading it.
Oh, yeah.
We're in First Peter chapter 3.
Yeah, verse 1. Okay, I'm just going to jump in. Wives, likewise, be submissive to your own husbands, that even if some do not obey the word, they without a word may be won by the conduct of their wives. And when they observe your chaste conduct accompanied by fear. Oh, buddy, okay. Lord is just revealing a whole lot through this. There's several things I want to bring up in this. One is that word submissive means to put yourself under their authority. So wives, it is important that we put ourselves under their authority, because I know it's easy. Here's the thing. God has put the men as just the spiritual leaders of the house. You may not like that, but that's just the truth. And we are very gifted in managing a lot of stuff. We are very gifted on jumping back and forth and knowing how to manage a house, knowing how to manage the children, like having those the gift of raising children and knowing how things relegate. We're very good at that. And here's the thing. It's easy to put yourself above your husband because you see more in the house than he does. But that does not change the fact that God put them in authority. In fact, they have to give an account for how we act. So when we try to put ourselves above them, they have to pay the punishment for that because we are out of line. It's so powerful, the role that you have as a wife. And I want to bring up something here. They, without a word, may be won by the conduct of their wives. So that means when your husband, if you are with someone and you're a wife serving the Lord, you're not speaking to them, nagging them about the way that they're not living rightly. It's without a word. Just the way you live is going to speak more volumes than anything you could say. When you follow the Lord and you choose to submit to your husband, that means you choose to put yourself under him. And here's the thing. God's going to deal very harshly with the husband that is not honoring his wife. And CJ will get to that. Someone who's not honoring his wife, there's consequences. So know the Lord fights for you. You don't have to fight for yourself. In fact, the Lord fights very strongly for women that are doing the right things, submitting themselves, and then their husband's out of line. God is actually on your side.
Yeah.
So there is a standard there. God expects both people to live up to that standard. And our job, the thing we should be focused on, is submitting ourselves, putting ourselves under their authority. And there's times the Lord's checked me and been like, whoa, that was out of line. You did not check with your husband first, and that's who I put over you. You need to be checking with your husband before you just go off and do things. And that's just my job. And sometimes he'll be like, why are you asking me this? And I'm like, well, God told me to ask you because I need to be checking in with you. And he goes, oh, okay, cool. Thank you for asking. But it's more of a check for me to not just go off and be crazy, because I can just go off and do things and then realize later I went too far. Because I actually, God has been revealing to me, he has such good advice. And the times that there was a long time that I just did a lot of stuff and then would come up against after complication after complication after complication and be frustrated. And I learned, excuse me, oh dear, I learned to just, I have this now unique ability. I wouldn't say it's a gift, but this unique ability to be okay with the outcome no matter how I got there. If I had to do the extremely hardest way possible to get there and it turned out the way I wanted to, I will be like, good, we're good. And he's over here you spent 3 days doing something that could have taken you half an hour if you just done this instead. But the thing was, I didn't have his knowledge and his wisdom that I needed for that. So I just got it done. It took me, heaven knows, too long to do it, but I got there. So I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to redo it. I'm fine. And there was a pride that I had to submit myself under him and be like, hey, I want to get this done. How should I do it? And then he presents something that I had never thought about. And I'm like, oh, wow, that'll take me 3 minutes to do that instead of a whole hour like I was planning. And there is a beauty when you're able to flow together. When you submit yourself unto your husband, he actually has this desire. We just had a conversation this morning to protect you. He has this urge to protect you. And it's actually easier for them to fulfill that role when you are submitting yourself to them instead of attacking them. So it's important to remember to submit yourself unto your husband.
I work in construction and I see a lot of broken men, a lot of failed relationships. So, this subject really, it hits home for me because when I first started, it was very apparent to me that I was around a bunch of broken men that had been abused by their wives and abused their wives. And the first thing I ask myself is, what do I need to do to not be these men? And that's when I came to the scriptures. Okay, so what does a healthy relationship look like? What is a good man? What is a good husband? What is a good wife? And really pour into having a strong character in what the Lord calls a good man and what the Lord calls a good woman, so that I don't become that miserable. Because, I mean, that's what it is. Those men they're so broken, and they act all macho and tough because they're broken.
It's a mask.
It's a mask, yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of power, a lot of weight, a lot of influence, especially for our husbands, and that becomes even stronger when you are submitted. When you choose to approach your husband from a gentle, loving perspective, recognizing his authority first and foremost, then one, they actually care about what you have to say. And two, like there is a deeper intimacy. You actually enjoy being together. And in fact, the more time you spend together, you just grow. Like, you guys need each other. You need each other so much. And just recognizing that you need each other is so good.
You know, you see that?
Yeah. You get me all sidetracked. I might love you. And like, I also want to just point out, like, if there's something in your spouse that you are agitated, they don't serve me the way that I want them to, start being the change you want to see. Start serving them instead. Like, we've both taken turns doing that for each other. Like, oh, he doesn't speak words of encouragement over me in the morning. Start doing that for them. And actually, you start to see, like, you guys become each like, or
Become like each other.
Thank you.
We eat each other's sandwiches.
You become like each other without even trying. It's just natural when you're living in the same house, because you guys are joined. You guys are one before the Lord. And so there's just this intimacy that's developed. So if you see something in your partner, that's probably God bringing it up, that he wants both of you to do that. Like, I wish they would encourage me more. Or start encouraging them. Start speaking more positively over them.
So, let me, as the man, speak for you women. I can't do what I do without my wife. I got married to her because I needed her. And if you aren't being the woman that God called you to be, it's not possible for your man to step into his role that God called him to be. Because the fact is, you're together. And he can't be what God has called him to be without you. So yeah, there's a weight in your position, and there's a huge responsibility. And we've all heard the different cute phrases of a man's nothing without his wife, essentially. And it's so true, just in our time of what we've experienced, practicing these words and what they've done to our life and our relationship.
Excuse me.
This isn't some sort of vindictive, let me figure out a way to control my spouse. This is something that really benefits both of us.
No, why am I saying excuse me? Get off of me.
Go away, sneeze.
Yeah, go away, sneeze. Stop bothering me. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the next part. Verse 3 of chapter 3 of 1 Peter. Do not let your adornments be merely outward, arranging the hair, wearing gold, or putting on fine apparel. Rather, let it be the hidden person of the heart, with the incorruptible beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is very precious in the sight of God. For in this manner, in former times, the holy women who trusted in God also adorned themselves, being submissive to their own husbands, as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters you are if you do good, and are not afraid with any terror. So here's the thing. My parents took this to one extreme. There's two extremes to this verse, in saying that, do not let your adornment be arranging the hair, wearing gold, putting on fine clothes. Do not do that. That was like, you could not be outwardly beautiful, was basically the thing. If you looked beautiful, you were sinning. And that's wrong, because this says, do not be merely arranging of the hair and putting on the makeup. I'll be right back. So there's that do not be merely. So that means like in the NLT, it says of the same verse, don't be concerned about the outward beauty of fancy hairstyles, expensive jewelry, or beautiful clothes. So I want to speak on that for a minute. Like, do not be concerned about it means don't let it be the focus. Like, it's actually okay to look beautiful. It's okay to wear makeup. Like, it's okay to have your hair looking beautiful. It's okay to wear nice clothes. It says, do not let that be the focus, though. And so, like, I grew up from a home that, like, I actually felt so ugly whenever I dressed up beauty because of how much it was drilled into my spirit, into my body, that looking beautiful was a sin. Like basically men shouldn't know you're a woman. And that was, like, what was drilled into my head. And, like, there is discretion with that, though, because, like, when we wear certain clothes, just, like, we were designed to be beautiful to men. So we have to actually, there's an element of protecting them from that, because it's important that as being a beautiful creature that God has naturally designed men to just admire women. It's just a natural thing God has gifted them with. So it's important that as we dress up, that we are not causing other men to view our beauty too much, because we're actually supposed to guard that for our husbands, for our future husbands, like whatever that might be. We need to guard that extra beauty that they shouldn't share in any of that. I'm going to re-say some of the stuff I just said because I want you to hear it. I read what your thing says.
You read mine?
I did, because it said it good. I was just talking about how dressing appropriately. Women have a beautiful body. They were naturally designed to be admired by men. That's just the beauty that there is naturally. Mm-hmm. But it's important that when you're dressing up, you are not showing off too much of that beauty, because that should be exclusively for your husband. Mm-hmm. Like, if you are showing off too much of your beauty that other people are then enjoying too much of your body mm-hmm. and viewing it, like men just looking at the female body, it's enjoyable. We'll just mm-hmm. say that.
Well, I think when a woman's using that beauty to lure a man in, that would be considered manipulation.
Yes, I'm trying to, like, there's also a lot of condemnation on people, and I think that's where people start to not care, is because they feel condemned, and that's not the heart of God at all. The heart of God is that it's just a natural thing for men to adore women and to think they're beautiful and to just mm-hmm. find them, like, you in your natural state are very beautiful. And so it's important to guard that beauty for your husband, because when you are showing off too much of that beauty to other men, you're actually robbing your husband of, like, you are
which is robbing
precious
yourself.
Jewel. You are a precious jewel.
Yeah.
And so when you show off, like, too much of yourself to other people, you are taking away the thing that your husband is supposed to have. And so then he has less, because you're giving it away to other people for free. Like, God has given men a natural desire to look at women. And, like, that's important that we're not stepping into that, because it's actually steps over into that sexuality. Mm-hmm. And that natural, like, that natural admiration of women turns over into that sexuality way too quickly. Mm-hmm. So when you dress nicely and there's not too many curves showing, like, curvy women is just something that God has that's just part of the beauty. But it's important to hide some of those curves for your husband. If you're showing your whole body off, like, I just wish that I could, like, have people understand, like, how much God, like, he wants you to be admired and beautiful, but he also wants you to save all of those curves for your future husband. So I'm not speaking against dressing up, but, like, it's important. Like, I'm sorry, but the skin tight clothes, that you might as well be naked. And, like, because it just shows off so much of your beauty that it's actually a distraction.
I mean, what's the difference of spray paint?
But, like, I want to touch on this because, like, there's been times we've gone to church and someone was wearing a skin-tight dress, and it's actually hard for the men. Like, I look around the room and I see so many men that are struggling with that because they're still, like,
the reality
some
is,
people are set free.
Yeah.
of that addiction. But other people are lost in it. And like the Bible talks about not drinking alcohol around people that are struggling with alcoholism.
Right.
And why am I saying that? Well, because when someone is struggling with that fleshly thing, like they're struggling to have a pure sexual life, having another woman show off her beauty to them that they naturally desire actually really hinders that. They came to worship, and now there's that's distracting them and taking away from that, because like we have a desire to show off our beauty. Like that's just fine. But it's important to see where the line is of how much beauty to show off. And if you're showing off too much, like it is a distraction. So, and like it's important, like if you need to check with, like married women are a good thing to check in. Like if you're single, hey, is this outfit appropriate? Like honestly, most married women could tell you right off the bat. But the thing is, oftentimes, like I haven't said something when there's been outfits that we've been frustrated. We've almost left church quite a few times because of outfits. And it frustrates me because I just want to connect with people.
Right.
But I honestly want to keep my husband safe over my desire to be with people.
Well, I think it's really sad when young women and men dress out of a place of hurt, saying, I want to be viewed because I wasn't taken care of. And now I'm trying to get taken care of by everyone. That attention that you're going to get isn't, if you're just giving yourself away to people that you shouldn't be giving yourself to, you're not going to have fulfillment in that. In fact, you're going to feel more of a need to give up more and more of yourself.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's sad when it comes out of a place of hurt.
Yeah, and I think, like, I came from that, like, where there was a time I dressed in really short shorts and really low tops and really tight things, and, like...
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I mean, any guy that sees that enjoys it. But the thing is, like, the woman's body is, like, men naturally admire the woman's body, so we actually have to guard that. It's a precious jewel that I do not want to give to anyone else. And so... like, there was a time that my parents did not do a good job and specifically my father, in letting me know how beautiful I was. And that's where CJ had to come in, and the Lord had to both come in and tell me, you're beautiful.
I had to rebuke you in it.
Yeah, there was times he had to be like, stop wallowing in your self-pity and your self-misery, and that's just a form of pride.
And just say, no, you're gorgeous. Like, you don't have to show it off. We both know you're gorgeous, don't we?
And, like, the Lord is still working on me, but my confidence has grown a lot.
Yeah.
And just recognizing, like, men actually respect you more and want to be around you more and care what you have to say more when your body's not showing.
Right.
Because, like, it's just, there's a natural admiration of the woman's body for a man. Yeah. And when that is so much on display, they actually have a hard time not looking at that. Like, it is a stumbling block for a lot of men. And so, like, I choose to dress like...
And it shouldn't be a stumbling block, and we'll get into that
We'll
in a
get
little
to
bit.
that in a second. Yeah. He'll speak on that. But, like, there is freedom from that. But I also want to say we have a responsibility to help the men with their freedom. Yes, like, I get frustrated at this. Well, they shouldn't look. Well, here's the thing. Like, they were...
That's like going to an Alcohol Anonymous club, drinking. Sorry.
You're fine. She's trying to hold on to my thought so you could speak.
Okay. Go ahead.
There is just, when you're hungry, you eat. Men have a natural hunger for women. And so they want to eat. And I'm putting this very lightly. But it's important for them to only eat where they're supposed to. They're only supposed to have one meal continuously from the same person. And God actually grows that. It becomes this beautiful relationship. Like, the world says, oh, you shouldn't be satisfied with one person. Like, you're never going to be satisfied and all this stuff. And, like, the devil actually mimics something that God made.
Yeah.
So there's not satisfaction in that because it's based in a place of the imitation. And the imitation is never as good as the original. Like, if you have imitation flavor over the authentic or real, like, there's actually a difference. Right. Just like, so it's important for us to help the men not stumble, because they have most men are hardwired to naturally admire women. And that's fine, but we don't want them to admire too much. And that's where our responsibility is, and just like saying, like, yes, I'm a woman and I'm beautiful and I'm going to own that I'm beautiful.
Right.
but I'm not going to show you my body because that's for my husband and that is mine. You are not going to get to see too much of it because you're trespassing.
You know, the times that I've seen you do that, and I don't want any of you women to think that I'm trying to condemn you for, like, I understand this is a sensitive subject. I hope that by me as a man involved in this can help encourage you in understanding what it is a godly man, how he views it or how he should view it.
Well, and a lot of things I'm saying are because CJ and I have talked and I've understood more
Right.
of his brain that I didn't have before.
What was I saying? What else was I-
Godly man perspective.
No, I was going to say something else on that. What were you talking about?
The confidence of being like, I'm beautiful.
Oh my goodness, yes. It's been so interesting when she has worn her confidence as a woman, a godly woman that is standing up for what's right. She's had people compliment her saying, wow, you're looking beautiful today. And it wasn't anything special about her clothes. It wasn't her earrings. It wasn't her makeup. It was the simple fact that she owned who she is in Christ. And as a man, looking like a godly man, knowing what is attractive and what God actually wants, when I see that, it's super encouraging. Like, wow, she's a keeper. Like, I want that in my life.
Yeah,
I want that confidence to help build me up because I'm not strong all the times. And sometimes I need to walk the walk with someone. And when a woman owns her confidence and her beauty, that her confidence is in something else, not in her physical appearance, it empowers the man to be a better person.
Yeah, there's been times that I have felt just on fire for the Lord, and I've recognized like God has set me on a mission, and like I am exactly where He wants me to be. And there's just confidence that naturally comes from recognizing that. And I wear the same outfit I've worn like for the past couple months, and all of a sudden I get a bunch of compliments, and I'm like, what is different? And the Lord says, they're saying me. They're seeing me, and I made you beautiful. In fact, you are more beautiful when you're with me, when you're connected to me, and that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
So like, you want to attract a potential mate. I want
A good mate.
a good mate. I want to address this. If you attract a man who is attracted to your body, because all men are naturally attracted to women's body. And so there's just, when you show off your body, you're going to attract men. That's just the way it works. Well, when you attract that type of man, here's the thing. He's going to then still be attracted to that after he's with you. In fact, he will probably leave you for someone else with a good body because like, that's just the way that that type of man works. But when you are hiding your body and you are like just dressing, like you dress beautifully, like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you are like just covering the things that the Lord has asked us to cover, just the natural parts that men just want to look at, and you are covering that and like not having things that are too tight, and you have like a confidence in the Lord, then the right man's going to be attracted to that. And then there's confidence knowing that He's attracted to you because of what He sees in you and who you are. And then He's going to want you, not your body, because that fades. Like that attraction jumps around. That's actually an imitation. And the thing is, God has designed men and women to get together like based on who they are because He wants us to connect. Like He wants to grow our souls together. And when you're down here at the surface level of, oh, I just like this person for their body, and that goes for men too. Like don't marry a guy just because of his body. Like there's guys that work out a lot. There's guys that sit on the couch a lot. And like if you like, I wouldn't want to marry someone who sits on the couch and like has the results of that. I'm trying to be very careful. And has the results of being lazy, because that's not a good potential mate. But I don't want to marry someone that's worked out so much that that's all they care about, because then that's all they're going to care about. They're not going to care about me because they're so focused on their body. Like, honestly, I would rather marry someone who has a beautiful character for the Lord, because you can change your body. You can get fit, you can get fat, you can do whatever. So recognize when you're wearing the confidence of the Lord, you're going to attract the right type of mate.
Yeah.
And so that's just what I want to emphasize here.
Well, and I try to refrain from speaking the negative side of things.
But when
you're a woman that is not walking in God's will and you're showing off your body, the man can see that you're vulnerable and an easy target.
Well, I think that's important to recognize.
Men aren't as dumb. Well, men have their shortcomings, but even the very shortcoming men that I work with, I have seen them know exactly what kind of women are easy to manipulate, easy targets. And it's the women that are not owning their strength in the Lord, because it doesn't matter how smart or how dumb a dude is. If he sees a woman that is owning her strength in the Lord, he can't touch her. There's nothing he can do about it. He can say, ooh, she's intense. I don't have the willpower to deal with that. Because it'd be him combating the power of the Lord.
Well, and this is also what I want to touch on that sparks something for me.
Okay.
When you walk with that confidence, you are a natural protector. Like, that is our job, to protect our families. And like that mama bear instinct, that goes for your husband too. And so when a man sees you walking in that authority, he knows with confidence that you will protect him, and he is drawn to you because of that. He sees you're protecting yourself, so he wants to then be protected through that. And so your man is going to understand your authority and your role, and then you're going to naturally just flick off the enemy, because they're going to be terrified of you when you walk in that authority. They're going to be like, there's times I walk down the street and a guy turns to look at me and I make eye contact, and you're like they instantly look away. Like, when you're walking with the confidence of the Lord, it scares them. They don't want to look at you.
They don't want it. They want an easy target that they don't have to work for.
Put it over to you.
Okay. Chapter 3, verse 7. In the same way, you husbands must give honor to your wives. Treat your wives with understanding as you live together. She may be weaker than you are, but she is your equal partner in God's gift of new life. Treat her as you should, so your prayers will not be hindered.
I think that while you're processing, I think the thing that stood out to me on that, even though I'm not a man, is just that if you're treating your wife properly, your prayers are not hindered.
Yeah. So it's always irritated me when I read this, because the women get such good instructions. They get so much. I'll just be honest, it makes me a little jealous. And then I'm down here and it's like, bro, take care of your wife so that your prayers aren't hindered. That's pretty much it. We have one rule. Take care of her. Protect her. Do whatever it takes to keep her safe and let her feel loved. When I say that, how does that make you feel? Oh, I guess I hit it on the head. We have one role as a man. If you can't step up and be a godly man that pursues righteousness, that pursues what is right and puts her first and takes care of her and does whatever it takes to make her feel special, to make her dreams be pushed forward, her goals be created. She has an idea in her head of how she wants a house to look. You had better be doing whatever it takes to make that house look that way. Because she is precious, she is a gift of God, and if you don't treat her that way, I'm sorry, in my opinion, you're a piece of junk. I have no respect for you if you can't take care of your wife. Your prayers will be hindered if you don't take care of her. I see all these people, all these men that are frustrated that they're working and striving and pushing so hard. And believe me, they are working very hard. And they're crying out to the Lord, to a Lord. They just want success. And they're pushing so hard in all the wrong directions. She's at home. You're working overtime for a woman that you don't even spend time with. Go home and take care of her and watch the prayers that you pray transform your life.
Well, and I'll just speak on this real quick from the wife's perspective. Like, when your husband is away working a lot, because we went through that season, there's this innate desire to go spend money and to go get things that will then get you attention, because you're missing the attention that God naturally wanted you to have. Like having your husband validate you as a woman, and that means just spending time with you and like fulfilling all of those things that, you know, you do together. And that's not just in the bedroom, but just being able to connect together, like talking together. Don't sit together on your phones. That's not connecting. Don't sit together watching a movie all the time. Like, it's okay to watch movies. But I'm finding like the more you just sit and check out next to each other, that's not spending time together. Actually talk to each other. Because there is things that you guys are supposed to help like grow each other in. So when your husband's at home, the desire to go out and buy things and to do things and all of these things to try to get attention, those are naturally fires that are squelched because he's there taking care of you. So husbands, like I see these husbands that like are trying to make more money because their wife's spending more money, where if you were at home, like saying, hey,
it's a vicious cycle.
Like if you were like, when he's at home, it's like, hey, I want to take you to the park today. And like, I planned a picnic for you guys and the kids. Everything's ready to go. Let's go. That makes me feel excited. I don't need to go out and like buy new shoes or whatever, like go do stuff. Cause I'm like, oh, he planned something and wants me to go along. Like I feel so special. So there's that natural like fire to need to go do things. Because, like, sometimes, you know, I'm bored of being in the house all week, which is perfectly reasonable to need to get out of the house. But finding things that don't involve spending money is also important.
I'm, like, reading it again to see if I missed anything. It's that simple for men. Like, and I just want to say as a man how significant my wife's role has been. And this isn't coming from a couple that hasn't been successful. We have been successful, especially in the subject of marriage, because we have pushed to pursue one another. We have, and I tell her, I'm obsessed with you. And if I'm ever not obsessed with her, there's a problem. That's my other half. Like, the reason the women have so much in this is that everything they do benefits both of us. And men have a tendency to be the ones that are single focused. And it so often, if we just put our focus on taking care of our spouse and serving the Lord, it all just goes into place. And there were years to where I knew that I needed to take care of her. And in time, she would come around. So, I mean, there were things that we disagreed on. There were issues we had. And getting blown up about that and going to work and gossiping about your spouse doesn't do you any good. But taking the time to continually encourage your spouse and help her where she's willing to accept your help, after a while, she gains a trust in you and is able to present her frustration and say, hey, I don't know how to deal with this. And then you're able to carry that burden together, or in some cases, give it up to the Lord together. Well,
something was brought to mind while you were talking. Like, it's important for you guys to spend time together, as much time as possible, and to communicate. So, like, there's been times that we've been working on a project together, whether that's putting on an event, doing a renovation on the house, like, it's been something. This has come up several times, and like, thank the Lord we have both had the mindset that we're going to make this work. It's easy. Like, we fight fair, and that means you don't ever bring up the possibility of divorce.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's an option, but that's not the way that God wants us to operate. No. We understand we are a team. Nothing is splitting this team, so that's not even an option in our mind. We are yoked up together as husband and wife, so anything that comes up is a problem against the team. Yeah. So that's trying to split us up. That's trying to destroy us, but we are not going to let it, because we know we're fighting together. So whatever comes up.
So whenever we were fighting, we weren't fighting each other. We were fighting to deal with the issue.
Yeah, like, okay, that's trying to separate us. Let's. So through that, I want to say, like, there were times that I wanted to do something a specific way, and then he'd bring up an alternative way. I have learned now, one, to communicate, say, I don't like that way because of this. And usually it's that I didn't understand, because, like, we communicate very differently. And that's just fine. But recognizing you have to learn how that person communicates. Well, like, have to touch on this. Like, I know people that have been at work and they have like a work friend that they're buddies with. They're like, I just understand them better. I'd rather hang out with them. Well, that's because you have spent time getting to know them. The same can be said for your spouse.
Yeah.
You spend time getting to know them. And that's where that comes from. So there's been times we've had situations that come up. I've learned one, to communicate. I was thinking of doing it this way because I thought it'd be quicker. I thought it'd be faster. I didn't want to spend more money. I liked this color more. Like, it's okay to be honest with your communication. Say, I actually don't like that color of paint we had in the shed. That's why I don't want to use it.
Oh, there have been times where I would ask the same question on something over and over for years. Like, hey, do you want to do this? And every time I'd get a different answer. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And then finally I would get the real answer. Oh, I don't like that thing you're wanting to paint in the first place. So why would I bother painting it? Oh, well, if I would have known that, I would have thrown it away several years ago or gotten rid of it or gotten something else.
Yeah. And that was that fear for me of like, I didn't want to hurt him or offend him because he would have gotten something for me, or he would have been like, he would have wanted to get rid of it previously, but I thought in that moment, oh, I want to keep it. And then now I realize I actually don't want it. And so I'm trying to like not tell him like he was actually right, which I've learned to be honest and say like, oh, I wanted it back when you were wanting to get rid of it, but now I've realized I don't need it. So you were actually right. Like, it's okay to tell them they're right. Like, that's actually perfectly fine. There's that fear of like, oh, if I tell him he's right, he's going to lord it over me. Like, no, you just say like, yeah, you were right. I didn't understand. I didn't need it at that time. And now I realize I don't. So like, it's just communication and having the grace with each other. So I've learned one, to communicate. And what was the second thing? What were we talking about? Dear. Oh, in solving problems. And the second thing is there will be that lie that will come up that says like, you can do this better on your own. You should just tell him you don't want to do it with him. You regret doing it with him. And there was times that I would have said that, like, I should have just done this by myself. I don't know why I asked for your help. And that was rude. Now I've realized that's a lie from the enemy. And he's trying to split us up because I've learned through pushing past that. Like, sometimes I've had to go and like have a attitude change of just going and like repenting for thinking things against my husband, because like those things just come up. That happens. And changing my attitude and then coming back and being like, okay, I was frustrated because we weren't getting anywhere. I'm now ready to move on. Like, recognizing that sometimes our thoughts are not our own thoughts. Like, the enemy tries to throw things in there like, you'd be better off doing this on your own. He doesn't understand your vision. Well, help him understand your vision. Help him understand where you're coming from. And that's where that communication is important. That's where being on the same page is important. The reason, like, I just want to touch back on why there's so much stuff for us to work on is because we have a huge role to play. And so, like, things move when you guys are yoked up together. Yeah. Because you guys can do amazing things together, but that comes from you have to learn each other and communicate together. And, like, when you feel disconnected, it's usually because you haven't been communicating and haven't been spending time together. Those things are so important. And that's not just in the bedroom. That's really important too, but it's important to like be doing things together as a couple. Like, take time away from your kids. That's one that we haven't been able to do very often, is get away from the kids. Because when you're so focused on your children, you sometimes neglect that you're both learning and growing every day, and you need to talk about the things you're learning and growing on. And that's important. And honestly, this podcast has been so good. Like, the Lord has been having us do it every day right now. And it's been so good to like bring up things that we had both been ignoring because we didn't have time to deal with it. Well, now we've been making time. That we'll go out to film a podcast, an issue will come up in the middle of talking about the podcast. We'll be able to deal with it and realize, oh, we've been ignoring this issue for like the past 6 months. Okay, now we've dealt with it and we can actually move on together.
Thanks for being a part of our counseling session.
Yeah, but it's important to recognize you guys are both fighting for the same thing.
Yeah.
And like to fight for the same thing. Just keep it in a mindset like, this is my partner. This is my...
Yeah, and sometimes when we're angry or fighting a subject, that's when I will tell her, I'm obsessed with you. Like, I'm not fighting you. I'm fighting this this issue. And
yeah. Well, sometimes like... Yeah. I have said that also, but in the mindset of like, the enemy tries to come in and lie to me, and I've recognized that. And so sometimes I will tell CJ, and to remind myself, I love you so much, and I am angry that this subject has come up.
Yes.
we need to address this, but I just
Yes.
want you to know that I love you.
Right.
And I want to work on this together.
and
I
that,
want to
for
be
me
with
as
you.
a man, I naturally can get beat up with all of the burdens that I take on myself. So when she does that, it gives me some ammunition to say, okay, no, she loves me. She's behind me. I don't care what's in front of me. I got
Well,
her.
and here's something I want to bring up that comes up is sometimes I will be so focused in what I'm doing that my face and my mannerisms resemble when I was frustrated at him and wouldn't say anything. So he's learned to just ask me, are you upset at me? And I'll like look at him like, what? No. He's
Well,
like,
and
oh,
often
phew.
it has nothing to do with her face. It's just the fact that I'm feeling insecure at the moment. And I'll just ask her, are you upset at me? Okay, you're not? Okay, cool. Now I can address whatever it is that's going on inside my own head.
It's like, yeah, it's important to
It's
just
like,
check in with the
we
person.
gotta be good first. before I do
Instead of
anything else.
assuming they're upset, oh, my wife's upset at me, I'm just going to go, but like,
Yeah.
ask her, are you upset at me? Oh, no, I have to figure out how to get this deadline for work done, and I'm just
Right.
like trying to ground this out. I'm sorry I haven't been giving you the attention I need, the attention you need. I'm just trying to figure this out. And then they might actually be able to help you with it.
Well, and I could go hang out with 50 people to bless them or do whatever, do God's work. And if I'm not good with my wife, I don't care. Those people can all be alone without me. I need to make sure my house is in order before I go bless others. And if I'm ever stepping into that, I always turn and check. We good? Okay, cool. I'm going to go talk to this person because I'm feeling led to do so. But I wanted to make sure that we were good before I went and neglected you to take care of someone else that I don't even live with, to take care of someone else that isn't even part of me.
And that's where, like, for us, we have felt very strongly like, I'm married to this person. So if I'm not living well with them, how can I go and share God's love with a soul and win one for
Yeah.
Jesus if I can't even demonstrate
Yeah.
that in my life?
It starts right here.
This is the most important thing that I need to have right before God.
Right.
Second is your children. If you are not ministering and loving on your children, how can you go do it for a complete stranger? It is important to make sure that we are living rightly before God with the people that are right next to us before we go minister
Right.
to strangers, minister to the church.
Right. Yeah.
Our house needs to be in order first. That is so important because, like, I can't go and share the love of God if I am rebellious against my husband and I'm not listening and
Well, it
I'm
goes the same
fighting
way
with
for me.
him, like
Yeah.
whatever is going on. I can't go and share God's love with people if I am neglecting my children, not feeding them, not taking care of them, not loving on them, like whatever that looks like. It's important that you take care of what God has given you first before you go out and minister, because then you actually can minister as a team and you're more effective and God actually works more through you because you have made sure the time that your foundation is secure first.
So men that are already on the couch, men that have already been kicked out of the house, I want to encourage you. And so she's not listening to you. She's not taking care of you. You're feeling defeated. Get into the Word. Get to know what God wants you to act like. Work on your character and constantly be there for her. Regardless of what it is that's going on, you do what's right. You pursue Christ. You get to know Jesus. You build that relationship with Him. And the Lord will take care of the rest.
When you put God first, He puts you first.
Yeah.
So He's
I
going to
know
take care of that.
it's so tempting to want to run away or to just jump into pornography and do the opposite of blessing your relationship. But pursue Christ. And I'll say, go for a run. Go use your body for something good.
Men were designed to work. Like, that's just a thing. Men have a really unique gift to be able to be successful with the things they do. Like, you guys were actually designed to work. And that's why boys have so much energy, is because they're supposed to use that energy to do things. Like, girls have a very unique gift to learn things. And that's why we can sit for so long and, like, learn things so quickly. Like, in a classroom, school is actually, like, more for girls than it is for boys. Like, yes, there's exceptions, but boys need to be hands-on doing things. And like men, you guys have this unique ability to be able to just do things and produce these amazing results. And things like, I cannot keep up with CJ when he is working. He is a workhorse and just, and like situationally, there are so many things that I am just like, if I work in the heat, I get faint and I almost fall over. And like, that is changing for me in Jesus' name. I will be able to work more successfully, but just like, there is just a natural gift, just like we're naturally gifted in being able to manage the house and take care of children and like manage lots of things mentally. Men are very naturally gifted at working and providing and like accomplishing and like achieving and conquering, and like, don't get jealous of the men's success, because God has given you your own role for success. And actually, it requires more effort for us and more self-striving for us to have the same success, because that they're naturally gifted at. And the same goes for men. It requires more effort for them to try to step into our role, because we just have things we're naturally gifted at. And that's okay. It's okay to own that. And that comes back to that submitting yourself unto your husband. Recognize he's supposed to take the lead. There's freedom in being like, you're leading, cool. Whew, I don't have to do that. There's a huge responsibility in having to lead. And like it's just like, I just want to bring up like single parents, like single mothers right now. God sees you. And in fact, he wants to be your spiritual head of your house. So if you are pushing into God, I feel this so strongly. If you're pushing into God as your spiritual head of your house, he will provide for you. He will protect you. He will do everything the husband was supposed to be doing, because he sees that lack. He sees that insufficiently where the humans messed up, where they didn't step up. And he sees all of your effort that you're putting in, you're pouring into your family, you are sacrificing and putting them first. He sees that, and he will be your heavenly husband. He is. We are the bride of Christ. So he will step up and be that for you if you let him. So just like, just submit yourself to God and watch him work in your life.
I didn't want to just end it with a rebuke on the men. I wanted to encourage him. And that's why I point to the scriptures. That's why I point to your physical health. God wants you to be successful. He knows what you're going through. He knows that it's frustrating. He knows that it hurts. And it's okay to be honest with yourself that it hurts. Because you love her, and there's nothing, it can feel like there's nothing you can do about it. But the one thing you can consistently do is seek the Lord, and he will take care of you.
And I want to just say this, that like, we're in 1 Peter 3:1, it says they will be won by the conduct of their wives. Well, I think that goes also for husbands. If you just show your wife, like from a wife's perspective, if I had just kicked you out, like I can see like feeling very righteous, like he wasn't doing his part, I've kicked him out. Well, if he starts stepping up and doing what he's supposed to be doing, we're naturally attracted to that. We're naturally attracted to someone who is just walking in their role that God has called them to be. So start looking in the scripture, seeing what a godly man is supposed to look like, and start just doing that. Start being productive, using your hands for working. Like, just submit yourself fully to God, and your wife is going to be so naturally drawn to that. She just can't help herself. We're just naturally wired to want that and crave that.
She's obsessed with me too.
Oh, yeah. I don't often say it enough, which I need to be better about, because I get just...
That's fine, I'll ask.
distracted, but like...
I'm not too proud to ask.
I'll go to an event, like it's very, very rare, like that's just women, and all I want to do is go home to him. I honestly enjoy myself less when I'm not with him. I just go and I sit there and I'm like, why am I even here?
I like when we're like out in public, and like one person will go off to use the restroom, and as we're walking back, it's like, oh, hey, who's that?
Yeah. And I just want to encourage you single people, like God sees you. Even if you've been married before, had a spouse before, God sees you. Like if you have a desire to be connected with someone, he sees that and he wants to fulfill that. We make sure we're putting God first, and he puts our desires first. So seek the Lord. Like the easiest way to get a husband or a wife is to seek the Lord first.
We just keep coming back to this. It seems like Jesus just fixes all of our problems.
He does. When you submit yourself to him and let him work on you, those things like, they bubble up.
We're not even trying to bring it back to this every time. It's
the Holy Spirit.
That's the solution.
Like it is that simple.
Yeah.
And like there's been times things have come up. We've learned to recognize it's an issue that we were hiding and ignoring. God wants to deal with it now. So we communicate through that, recognize that we're both fighting from a place of loving each other. Not fighting, but communicating loudly. We don't even do that. We communicate very firmly. We don't yell at each other, but we say things like, this is the way I feel. Oh, well, this is the way I feel. Oh, I didn't know you felt like that. Oh, and just, communication. That's important. But
I'm good.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We hope that this just brought you some form of encouragement. because God has been so faithful through our marriage. He's been so faithful. Like the people that we were when we got married versus who we are now, I'm literally blown away. I was thinking back the other day, just like
Haven't changed a bit.
That's not true. I am blown away at how far God has brought us. And that's just, God grows you. He knows what season you need to work on what thing, and he will just grow. And I feel like we have so much more to learn, but God is just faithful. That's like at the core of it, God is just faithful. Yeah. Be blessed.